everybody knows our pets are our family, so it's important that we keep them safe from things that they don't know could harm them. Joining us now is veterinarian Dr. Jeff Werber with some helpful suggestions on how we can protect our pets. Valentine's Day just passed, and some people might have some stuff laying around the house that's really not so good for any of their pets.
Well, the first thing we think about is chocolate. And I always say, if you have chocolate still lying around after Valentine's Day, how come you didn't send it to me?
Right.
Because we can eat it, but chocolate can be toxic. Right. The more pure, the richer the chocolate, the more toxic. For example, milk chocolate, it would take probably about a pound for a 20-pound dog to cause some problems. Darker chocolate, bittersweet, semi-sweet, might take half of that. Okay. But when you get to the true baker's chocolate, literally a 1/10 of an ounce.
You mean like the stuff that you use
like
for
baking,
cookies?
Those squares, right?
Really?
Yeah, it could cause a major problem. So you got to be careful with chocolate.
Scarce.
Other things, flowers. Right. A lot of flowers. I mean, I always say lilies, very dangerous for cats, and not just the flower, but the water that the lilies have been sitting in can also cause a problem. Right. And then there are a lot of things like trinkets and little piece of jewelry, things that people have may have received as a gift. Be careful.
Right. My puppies like paper. They're big paper, terrors.
Absolutely.
And so I find with the foils and those types of things, I have to be very, very careful because the paper itself is not bad. Sometimes it's the coating that can get
Sure. And also plastics. A lot of dogs like plastics. And one thing that blows my mind, look, we always get out and we play tennis ball with our dogs, right? But if you have a big dog and you have Akitas, I mean, they can swallow a tennis ball. And boy, I can tell you how many times we've seen this. Yeah. So, and then you also see those little tennis balls that come in wrappings. Right. So, and they're a little smaller. Oh my God, that's like, welcoming a problem.
And, well, what about my babies are also shredders. So when they shred the tennis balls, I always worry about the little pieces they might be ingesting.
They can and do.
Yeah.
And things like power cords, of course, you got to be careful. So other things sitting around the house. And then, you always say, okay, so what would happen? Heaven forbid my dog does get a hold of something. What do we have in our medicine cabinet that we can easily get out? Yeah. So be careful. Always check with your veterinarian. I mean, things, for example, aspirin, very dangerous for cats unless it's a very small amount. So, for example, things like Pepto-Bismol then, which contains the salicylates, also dangerous. Right. So don't you want to use Pepto-Bismol cat? You want to stay away. Acetaminophen will kill a cat.
Really?
So, oh my gosh, be very, very careful.
Well, a lot of people I work with here use like Benadryl for their animals that have sinus problems. Is that
okay?
Good?
That's absolutely about 1 milligram per pound. Right. Things like Bonine, like travel sickness medication could be good. But it's it's very important to always check. Oh, how about triple antibiotic ointment, right? Yeah. You would think that's fine, and for a dog it is. But some cats can actually have an allergic reaction, an anaphylactic reaction to neomycin. And neomycin, and you don't know which cats, and that's one of the active ingredients of a triple antibiotic ointment, so you got to be careful with that as well. So it's a good thing to ask your vet. Now, another thing, if they do ingest, what do? You want to induce vomiting. Your veterinarian might say yes, induce vomiting. So one of the things we use is Ipecac syrup.
Really?
Terribly toxic to dogs and cats.
Right.
So the best thing to do is hydrogen peroxide, about 1 to 2 mils of hydrogen peroxide. It's got to be pure, fresh peroxide per kilogram of body weight. That would help too. Right. And then just other things to avoid, like raisins and grapes. We used to give our dogs treats, and I used to throw in grapes. Right. Now we know could potentially cause kidney toxicity. Wow. So stay away from that. Macadamia nuts, too much milk, and also things like candies that are sugarless or gums. Be careful because they have an active ingredient called xylitol. And xylitol, very also toxic to our pets. And
one of the things, in fact, we had a story about this not that long ago in a neighborhood where a guy was fixing his cars, and the cats were drinking the antifreeze. And a lot of the neighbors thought he was doing it on purpose. He really wasn't. Right. It was just out there on the ground.
See, the problem with antifreeze, and it's being changed, but the original formulations were made very sweet. It had the ethylene glycol had a very sweet taste. Right. So cats and dogs would lap up the remnants that was sitting on the driveway. Yeah. And again, severe kidney toxicity. Actually, the rules have changed because of a young girl, I think she was 15, wrote a letter and started a whole campaign, and now they're putting bitters in antifreeze.
That's a good thing. Well, nice tips to look out for, helpful tips to learn more about Dr. Jeff Werber and his passion for animals. Check out his website, drjeff.com.